Are you a glass half full or glass half empty kind of person? You know, the optimist who expects amazing things to happen, or the pessimist who's always bracing for the worst. Well, I'm here to tell you that science has a few choice words about those mindsets. As someone who's explored the human mind for years, I've come to realize that our expectations, positive or negative, are not just random thoughts, they're actually rooted in our psychology. And if you're the type of person who expects the worst to happen, research suggests that you're more likely to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But here's where it gets crazy. Your mindset can actually alter the way you perceive reality. Think about it. If you're already convinced that bad things are going to happen, won't you start to notice all the evidence that confirms your fears? That's exactly what psychologists call the confirmation bias. It's like your brain is wired to prove itself right, even if it means ignoring all the facts. Now I know what you're thinking. That's just common sense. But honestly, this blew my mind when I first learned about it. I mean, can you imagine constantly walking around expecting disaster just because your brain is wired to look for it? It's like you're carrying a toxic cloud of doom around with you, and it's affecting your entire life. And if you think that's wild, just wait until you hear this next part. Researchers have actually found that people who expect the worst are more likely to engage in negativity spirals. That's a fancy term for when you start to notice all the things that could go wrong, and then you get so caught up in the fear that you end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like your brain is trapped in a vicious cycle of anxiety and doubt. But what happened next changed everything for me. I started to realize just how powerful my mindset was. I mean, I was the one who was choosing to look at the world in a certain way, and that realization was liberating. I started to focus on the positive, to look for the good in every situation, and you know what? It actually started to work. But wait, it gets even more interesting. Research suggests that our expectations can actually influence our biology. That's right, if you're expecting the worst, your brain is likely producing more stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And if you're expecting the best, your brain is likely producing more feel-good hormones like serotonin and dopamine. It's like your mind is a tiny factory, churning out chemicals based on what you're thinking. And let me know what you think about this. If we have the power to control our mindset, don't you think that's a pretty empowering idea? I mean, think about it. We're not just passive victims of circumstance. We're actually the architects of our own reality. And that's a pretty mind-blowing concept if you ask me. That's all for this part, but trust me, the next section is going to be even more shocking. Stay with me and find out what happens when we take control of our minds. You won't believe the power our minds have to shape reality, and it all starts with your mindset. It's not just about being optimistic or pessimistic. It's about how those thoughts impact your biology and even dictate what happens in your life. Research suggests that people who expect the worst are more likely to become self-fulfilling prophecies, while those who focus on the positive can actually create a more positive reality. But here's where it gets crazy. Our brains are wired to respond to threats, and that response can be a major obstacle to happiness. When we anticipate danger, our bodies release stress hormones like cortisol, which can make us more anxious and stressed. It's a negativity spiral where our fears and worries amplify each other, creating a downward cycle of negativity. And that's not all. Studies have shown that people with a negative mindset are more likely to get sick, be less productive, and even die younger. It's a sobering thought, and one that I never realized until I started exploring the psychology behind our minds. Imagine if you knew that a single thought could change your entire life. Would you want to harness that power? Honestly, this blew my mind when I first learned about it. I used to think that my thoughts were just random thoughts in my head, but now I see them as a potent tool that can shape my reality. But here's the thing, our thoughts are not just random, they're influenced by our environment, our upbringing, and even our genes. So if you're someone who's always expecting the worst, it's not just because of your individual personality or quirks. It's because your brain has learned to respond to threats in a specific way, and that response can be changed. Now I know what you're thinking. Is it really possible to change my mindset? And the answer is yes, it is. By practicing mindfulness, gratitude, and self-compassion, you can begin to shift your perspective and cultivate a more positive outlook. It's not just about ignoring your problems or pretending everything is okay. It's about acknowledging them and choosing to focus on the good stuff. But I want to ask you, are you ready to take control of your mind and create a more positive reality? If you're thinking, yes, I'm ready, then I want to hear from you in the comments below. Leave a comment if you're ready to start your journey towards a more positive mindset. And that's exactly what I'm going to explore in the next part of this series: how to create a more positive reality and take control of your mind. Stay with me here because it's about to get even more interesting. Next time, we'll delve deeper into the science behind positive thinking and explore some practical tips on how to apply it in your life. So, are you ready to transform your mindset and unlock the full potential of your mind? Let's dive in and find out. You won't believe what happens when you expect the worst. Did you know that people who constantly worry about the future often start to create their own reality? It sounds like a cliche, but I'm here to tell you that it's based on some pretty shocking research. Studies have shown that our mindset has the power to shape reality. It's not just a feel-good phrase, it's a scientifically proven fact. When you expect the worst, you're more likely to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Think about it: if you're constantly worried about running late, you're more likely to start worrying about it earlier, which makes you even more stressed out, and before you know it, you're actually running late. But here's where it gets crazy: the more you worry, the more anxious you become, and that anxiety can actually change your brain chemistry. Scientists have found that chronic stress can alter the development of neurons in the amygdala, which is the part of the brain that deals with emotions. This can lead to a vicious cycle of anxiety and stress, and if left unchecked, it can even shorten your lifespan. And that's not even the most surprising thing. The research also suggests that people who focus on the positive are more likely to create a positive reality. It sounds too good to be true, but it's based on real studies that have shown that people who have a positive outlook on life are more resilient to stress and more likely to bounce back from adversity. But how do you stop expecting the worst and start expecting the best? Honestly, this is a question I've been grappling with for a long time, and I've come to realize that it's not just about thinking positive thoughts, it's about changing your mindset. When you expect the worst, you're more likely to catastrophize, which is a fancy term for making worst-case scenarios sound like they're inevitable. But what if I told you that you have the power to change that? Imagine if you could flip a switch and start seeing the world in a different light. What if you could train your brain to expect the best, even when things seem bleak? It's not just a pipe dream, it's based on real science. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to adapt and change, and studies have shown that you can actually rewire your brain to focus on the positive. Wait until you hear this next part. Researchers have found that mindfulness meditation can actually change the structure of the brain, reducing activity in the amygdala and increasing activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that deals with logical thinking. In other words, mindfulness meditation can actually help you become less anxious and more logical. If you think that's wild, just wait. The research also suggests that people who practice mindfulness meditation are more resilient to stress and more likely to create a positive reality. And it's not just about mindfulness meditation, it's about any practice that helps you cultivate a positive mindset. Leave a comment below if you've ever struggled with anxiety or stress, and let me know what you think about this idea. Stay with me, because in the next part of this series, we're going to dive deeper into practical tips and strategies for changing your mindset and creating a positive reality. It's going to be a game changer, trust me. You see that person walking down the street with a scowl on their face, and you can't help but wonder what's going on in their head. They're probably thinking about all the things that could go wrong, and that expectation is literally rewiring their brain to make those worst-case scenarios more likely to happen. That's the power of our mindset, and it's more crucial than you might think. Research shows that when we constantly worry about the future, our brain starts to create a self-fulfilling prophecy, making it even more likely that those negative outcomes will occur. It's like our minds are trying to convince us that the worst is going to happen, and it's a vicious cycle that can lead to anxiety and stress. But here's where it gets crazy. Our mindset can actually change the way we see reality. It's not just about thinking positively, it's about rewiring our brains to see the world in a different way. And that's where mindfulness comes in, a technique that's been shown to change the structure of our brains, reducing anxiety and increasing logical thinking. You might be thinking, wait, that sounds too good to be true. But studies have found that mindfulness meditation can actually alter the activity in our brain's amygdala, the part responsible for processing emotions. It's like flipping a switch, turning off the negative thoughts and emotions that can hold us back. And that's not all. Research also suggests that our mindset can affect our physical health. People who are more optimistic and focused on the positive tend to have lower blood pressure, a healthier weight, and a stronger immune system. It's like our mindset is giving us a superpower, protecting us from the negative effects of stress and anxiety. But if you think that's wild, just wait until you hear about the concept of set point theory. Essentially, our brain has a natural set point for stress and anxiety, and once we reach that point, it's like we're stuck in a never-ending cycle. But research has found that we can actually change our set point, rewiring our brains to handle stress and anxiety in a healthier way. Honestly, this blows my mind every time I think about it. The idea that our mindset can literally change our reality is both empowering and terrifying at the same time. It's like we have the power to create our own destiny, but it also means that we have to take responsibility for our own thoughts and emotions. But what about when life gets tough and we face those worst-case scenarios head-on? Can we really trust that our mindset will help us navigate those challenges? That's what we'll explore in the next part of this series: practical tips and strategies for changing your mindset and creating a positive reality, even in the toughest of times. So stay tuned and get ready to unlock the secrets of your mind. You're living in a constant state of dread, anticipating the worst-case scenario for every situation. This is a mindset that can be incredibly damaging, and research in psychology says it's a major contributor to anxiety, stress, and even depression. But here's where it gets crazy: the mere expectation of a negative outcome can actually bring it about. This is known as the self-fulfilling prophecy effect. Essentially, when we expect a specific outcome, we're more likely to behave in a way that makes it happen. It's a vicious cycle that can be incredibly difficult to break. Let me ask you this: have you ever found yourself dreading a situation, only to have it turn out to be much worse than you expected? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite: you've anticipated a positive outcome, only to have it exceed your wildest expectations. Either way, your mindset plays a huge role in shaping the reality you experience. But here's the thing: our minds are incredibly powerful tools. Research has shown that by altering our brain activity, we can actually change our mindset and overcome even the most daunting challenges. Mindfulness, in particular, has been shown to have a profound impact on both mental and physical health. By being more present in the moment, we can reduce anxiety, improve our focus, and even boost our immune system. But what if I told you that the benefits of mindfulness go far beyond just feeling better? In fact, studies have shown that regular mindfulness practice can actually change the structure and function of our brain. It can increase activity in areas associated with emotional regulation and reduce activity in areas associated with stress and anxiety. This is a game changer, folks. It means that we have the power to literally reshape our brain and improve our mental health. Now I know what you're thinking: this all sounds great, but what about when things get tough? When faced with a true crisis, how can we possibly maintain a positive mindset? Honestly, this is where I get really interested, because I think it's here that psychology has some of its deepest insights. But what happened next will change the way you think about your mindset forever. Stay with me to find out what I discovered, and get ready for a revelation that will challenge everything you thought you knew about the power of your mind.